So today I want to talk about a disease that's very close to my heart. So every year, guys, after coming back from December leave, from like mid-January to mid-March, I used to be dealing with this disease. And farmers will always walk into the office and say, Doc, because I have a strong voice. So a lot of people used to say, hi man, meaning you are like shouting at me, right? They'll say, Doc, but my animals have lumpy skin disease. And why would they say that? Because obviously the previous year, before the rainy season, we would spend a lot of time going around doing farmers' days, educating farmers about this disease, but farmers still did not heed our advice. And what happens come the following year? Kibo Thomas, they believe by seeing, and believing by seeing costs money. Okay, guys, this disease can have a major impact on your animals, and it can have a major impact on your pocket, as well as the mental health of any farmer who wishes to grow and doesn't want to see any losses. So guys, if you want to know more about lumpy skin disease, we're going to talk more about it on today's video. Stay tuned, watch, and welcome to my video. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you that don't know me, I am Dr. Nobs, a veterinarian living and practicing in South Africa. Ni dogodela ya swihari, ngaka ya diphologolo, udogodela wezilwane. Welcome to my YouTube channel, guys, to my day ones and everybody who has been supporting me, my new subscribers, my old subscribers. You are all welcome to my YouTube channel, and I want to say thank you for joining the family. Anyone who's watching and not subscribing, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe. It's absolutely free. It just helps my channel to grow. All right, so let's get into today's video. So let's start by talking about what is lumpy skin disease, right? So lumpy skin disease is a highly contagious viral disease, meaning that it is caused by a virus, and by highly contagious, it just means that it spreads easily between animals, right? It affects cows. You will see it mostly during the wet and warm rainy season, this time of the year. And another thing that may be important for me to mention is that the disease is not able to be transmitted between animals and people. And then another thing is that, yes, the disease usually leads to a low number of deaths at the farm, right? But it has a major impact on a farmer's pocket as well as the productivity of the animals, and I will explain more about that further on the video. All right, let's get into how does the disease spread between animals, right? So you will have about maybe 3 or 4 things that I will mention during this time, and understanding how the disease is spread between animals will help you know as to what you should do to prevent this disease, right? So first thing first, it can spread through biting insects, right? We're talking about flies, I'm talking about mosquitoes, I'm talking about ticks, I'm talking about midges. All of these things can be responsible for transmitting the disease. How they do it is obviously they will bite an animal that's infected with the disease, and then from there they'll go bite another healthy animal, and that healthy animal will get lumpy skin disease through that way, right? And then another way that the disease can be spread is through direct contact between an infected animal and a healthy animal, as well as if they're eating together or drinking together. That can also lead to the spread of this disease. You also have a situation where some cows have lesions on their udders, and when their calves are suckling, then they can get infected through that way. All right, I hope that makes sense to everybody. And then another important thing to mention is that if your animals are sharing resources, right? So if they're sharing resources, they're in the same environment, they are most likely to infect each other. And this is very important, especially for communal farmers, because they are sharing land, they are farming together, which is why I highly advise that if you want to beat this disease, you have to work together as a team. And most of the time, what I have noticed in the rural areas or / in the communal farmers is a lot of farmers struggle with this. So we need to do better and work together. Or if one farmer is doing something to make sure that they are protected against this disease and the other one is not, there is no balance there. Akuna balance, okay? There's no balance. Obviously, yes, the one that's doing something will be less affected than the one who's doing nothing. But still, the one who's doing nothing is putting himself and all the people that he's farming with at risk of developing and getting this disease. All right, let's move on to symptoms or signs that you may have the disease at your farm are as following. And usually a lot of farmers are very good at picking this up, right? You will see the obvious lumps and bumps on the skin. They can be on the skin, they can be on the cow's private parts, can be on the neck. You can see them, they can be like from small size to a big size. You know, some I've seen some as big as 5 centimeters on some cattle, right? And then some can actually pop and rupture and lead to like a secondary bacterial infection on the skin. You can see things like feet getting swollen, and then that way your animals will be lame, they'll be slow, obviously because they are sick. Fever is also one of the signs. Nasal discharge, meaning discharges from the nose as well as from the eyes. And all the signs may not always be obvious to you, but they may be obvious to a professional if you need help. So it's always important to call a professional to help you if you are not sure as to what you are dealing with, right? And then the next thing that we should talk about is diagnosis. How is this disease diagnosed? So obviously, if there is the obvious lumps and bumps on the skin, it becomes an obvious diagnosis by the clinical signs that this animal is showing. Vaccination history is very important as well. That information will be required. And another way to make a diagnosis, if the signs are not so obvious, or sometimes it's not so obvious that you could be having this disease, the other thing that a professional can do is take samples to send to the lab so that they can confirm the diagnosis 100%. Right? So that's how the disease would be diagnosed. And then in terms of treatment, let's talk about treatment, right? I mentioned in the beginning that this is a disease that's caused by a virus. And like most diseases that are caused by a virus, there is no specific cure. There is no specific treatment for lumpy skin disease. I'm going to repeat this again because this is very important for when I get to how you should prevent this disease from your farm. Because in this instance, prevention is definitely better than a cure, because actually there is no cure, right? So there is no specific treatment for lumpy skin disease, but what we do is support the animal, right? Because the animal is sick and the animal is weak, it can make this animal susceptible or prone to secondary bacterial infections, right? And that's usually what would kill the animal, or just affect its productivity, right? So what we can do is sometimes if we see that the situation is bad, we can add some antibiotics, we can add some anti-inflammatories, as well as some vitamins and a lot of TLC, tender loving care. That's all that mostly we are able to do, and we leave the rest to chance. Okay, you may be wondering, Doc, I hear you, but why is this disease important? What is the impact of this disease on my farm? Okay, so the disease can have several impacts on your animals, on your cows, right? Because the animals are sick, they will not eat. When they do not eat, they lose weight. When they do not eat, they do not produce, right? And then the other thing that can happen is that this disease can actually affect the fertility of your bulls and your cows, and it can actually lead to permanent damage. And if your bull and your cow is not able to do what it's there to do, which is to reproduce, you see, that's a loss to you as a farmer, right? So this disease can have a permanent damage on fertility of the cattle at your farm. So it's important that you do what you can to make sure that this disease does not come into your farm, right? And then the other thing that this disease can do is have a high impact on a farmer's pocket. It is expensive to treat. It's cheaper to prevent. Okay? I once had a situation where a farmer did not heed our advice. And what happened? lumpy skin got into his farm, and he had a lot of animals that were affected. And as a result, he lost a lot of money trying to manage the disease at his farm and actually trying to make sure that he doesn't lose any of his animals. In the end, yes, he didn't lose any of his animals, but he lost a lot of money. And all of this could have been prevented if he had only listened to us, that prevention is better than a cure. Now, let's move on to the prevention / control methods that you should be implementing at your farm to make sure that the disease doesn't affect your animals or doesn't come into your farm, or to just make sure that even if it does come, it has a lower impact than someone else who has not even implemented any of these control measures, right? So let's talk about the first one. The first one, and the most effective one, and the most affordable one. I say affordable because a lot of farmers will be like, no doc, this is expensive. Why is the government not giving us the vaccine? Unfortunately, the government does not give out the vaccine for lumpy skin disease. They may be doing it in other provinces, but in most provinces, this is not a disease that the government is responsible for. So this is now a part that our farmers must also play, right? You have to buy the lumpy skin disease vaccine. So the most effective and the most affordable way to prevent this disease is what? Vaccination. Okay, there are vaccines available in the market. Just make sure you read the package insert, because some of them will say inject 1 meal, some of them will say inject 2 meals. So make sure you read the package insert and understand how much you should be giving your animals and when. For example, calves from mothers who were vaccinated should be vaccinated between the age of 6 and 12 months, right? But if the mother was not vaccinated, these calves can be vaccinated as early as 3 months, right? For example. And then in terms of after you've done that, every single year, you do not skip a year. Every single year, the animals must receive a booster. Usually we'll do this before the rainy seasons. Okay, so, and the other measures that you should implement is things like biosecurity. Once you have the disease at your farm, make sure you limit movement. Once you see that there are sick animals that may be affected with this disease, make sure that you isolate the sick animals, okay? Isolate the sick animals from the healthy animals if you have the land to do so, all right? And if possible, you have to isolate your animals. You need to keep them within your farm or your portion of the land, and you need to feed them there. Don't let them go outside and eat and drink with the rest of the other animals that are there in that land that you guys are sharing, right? And other things that you can do is try and make sure you disinfect everything. Disinfect your water sources. Disinfect your feeding troughs if you have any. All right. And make sure that you disinfect all needles and syringes that you use before you just use them between the sick animals and the healthy ones. So things like that are things that you can implement. And obviously you need to make sure that you have some sort of external parasite control going on at your farm. All right, so guys, please don't let this disease catch you off guard. Actually, most of you know what you should be doing, okay? But the problem is you're just not doing it. So please do it. When it gets to August, September, October, make sure you are vaccinating your animals for lumpy skin disease. All right, I hope this video was able to help someone. Remember, you have to work together. If one farmer vaccinates but the other doesn't, it's just pulling people backwards. We all need to vaccinate. So have a farmers meeting with all the farmers at your land and tell them it is time to vaccinate. When the time comes, let's all vaccinate. All right. Thank you guys. I hope this video was able to help someone. Let me know if you have any questions. If there's something that you're not clear about, please comment on the comment section and I will be able to respond. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment. Thank you. Bye.